Oh, here we go. Oh my god, we're gonna start off in the woods.
Slenderman is
really?
arguably the most well-known of the creepypasta monsters, breaking through the wall of cult following into the mainstream rivers of the internet. You could even say he commands a large enough fan base to be considered a different fandom to creepypastas in some aspects. But before we delve into the true origin of this character, let's take a look at his lore. Starting with the star of the show himself, Slenderman has been described with an array of abilities, originally starting with just tendrils streaming from his back, ability to psychologically break people, to selectively be invisible to certain people, and the ability to teleport. Nowadays, due to all the stories and adaptations, he has a few more assumed abilities like proxies, whatever they are. His original actions would be to stalk his victims, causing them to doubt the very fabric of reality itself, usually by making himself visible for enough time for someone to register he's there, but not enough to confirm it. A very less is more approach, rather than charge in and brutally murder someone. It was also very unknown what Slenderman actually did to his victims, often leading to disappearances rather than mutilated bodies. Also, by distorting electronic equipment, he makes it very hard for anyone to document his actual existence. One of the main changes that happened over the time is that Slenderman used to almost exclusively stalk and victimize children indiscriminately. But nowadays he seems to choose anyone of any age at seemingly random. There are many references to beings similar to Slenderman through the ages, starting with Europe's fairies. No, not the Tinkerbell kind, the spelling's different. Where some fairies were kind in nature, there were some who were cruel. Fairies have been known to kidnap children, cause disease, and put people in a trance, even succumb them to mind control. Have odd features, be visible to certain people, teleport and even trick people into trusting them before leading them to their demise. These traits line up well with the Slenderman that we hear about today. The next, and one of the most notable historic mythos that lines up with Slenderman, is the German's the Grossman. The Grossman translates to the Great Man or the Tall Man, and is a sort of German boogeyman. He's described as a fairy of the Black Forest, lining up with one of the original mythos of Slenderman, that he often stalks forests rather than cities or towns. Here, he would take away bad children who entered the forest at night, and stalk them until the naughty child confessed their ill behaviours to their parents.
What?
A notable source that is also from Germany is a painting by Hans Baldung, who was a Renaissance artist who died in 1545. The painting, called 3 Ages of Woman and Death, depicted a skeletal figure holding an hourglass. When the painting went through an X-ray in 2003, due to insurance reasons, it was discovered that it was, in fact, altered early on to remove several extra limbs on the skeletal figure, the correlation being Slenderman's tendril trait. In Britain, there are 2 mythos matching Slenderman. The first is the Scottish Feardog, the Black Man. This legend is about an entity that haunted footpaths and forests at night. This creature had characteristics that are close to a more primitive Slenderman. This story was told to scare children to stay indoors at night and stop children wandering in the forest without adult supervision. And in England, you have the Clutchbone, which was a 7-foot monster which dates back to the early 1800s. This creature was described as being black in colour, with leathery textured skin. Its head consisted of a lit torch within a large, raised collar of material similar to rawhide. This more violent depiction included destruction by burning, disappearances and even dismemberment of victims. What is interesting to note is that before there were sightings of the Clutchbone, people would witness lightning bolts created by severe weather conditions, leading to a theory that the creature might have arrived into this dimension by way of this natural phenomenon. Moving on to Eastern Europe, there are 2 more notable examples. There is a Romanian fairy tale called The Tall Man, You can actually watch a video I made on this quite a while ago. This fairy tale depicts a mother who falls under the tall man's influence and kills her family. The tall man is described as being dressed as a nobleman in all black, with multiple arms like snakes and sharp swords.
Wow.
In Russia, a folklore exists that dates back to the early 20th century, which has a tall, slender man as a corrector who would hunt those who existed through unconventional means, such as being born without a father. Moving across the ocean to America, there is a book by W.K. McNeill called Ghost Stories of the American South. In this book, there is a story of a tall, skinny, tree-like man that abducted a child from a family. The story was collected from a 72-year-old man in 1963, meaning the story could potentially date back to the early 20th century. In Taino, a civilization that predates the Colombian inhabitants of the Caribbean, has a legend that speaks of the Hupia or Opa, which is a nocturnal humanoid without a face that stalks its prey, paralyzing them and slowly driving them insane. This creature was considered the spirit of the dead in the Taino religion. An interesting creature that is found in Japan is the Nokorebo, often referred to as the Mujina, a spirit with long arms and legs and no face. Here are two stories about this creature. The first one is the Nokorebo and the Koi Pond. This tale recounts a lazy fisherman who decided to fish in the imperial koi ponds near the Heian-kyo Palace. Despite being warned by his wife about the pond being sacred and near a graveyard, the fisherman went anyway. On his way to the pond, he was warned by another fisherman not to go there, but he again ignores the warning. Once at the spot, he is met by a beautiful young woman who pleads with him not to fish in the pond. He ignores her and, to his horror, she wipes her face off. Rushing home to hide, he's confronted by what seems to be his wife, who chastises him for his wickedness before wiping her facial features as well. And the second tale, the Mujina of the Akasaka Road. This is a story of a man who travelled along the Akasaka Road to Edo. He came across a young woman in a remote location near Kunizaka Hill, crying and forlorn. After attempting to console the young woman and offer assistance, she turned to him, startling him with the blank countenance of a faceless ghost. Frightened, the man proceeded down the road for some time until he came across a soba vendor. Stopping to relax, the man told the vendor of his tale, only to recoil in horror as the soba vendor stroked his face, becoming a Nokorebo himself. There are even some correlating historical links with some ancient civilizations, notably the Babylonians, that believed in a demon called the Alu, who is a half-man, half-demon creature with no face. The Alu would sneak into the bedroom of the victim and terrify them as they slept. This creature reportedly caused a loss of consciousness, fixation of the eyes in a stare, and a loss of speech.
He on that Freddy Krueger, like.
An ancient cave painting in Brazil is arguably the oldest reference that can be linked to Slenderman, dating back to possibly around 9000 BC. This painting depicts a strangely elongated person leading a child by the hand. There are so many legends that line up with Slenderman's mythos so closely, but they are not the true origin of the Slenderman. Slenderman was actually created on the Something Awful forums in a paranormal picture Photoshop competition by a person with the username Victor Surge, real name Eric Knudsen. He posted 2 black and white photographs of unnamed children featuring Slenderman with a short description of the creature, describing him as a mysterious creature that stalks children. On June 11th, 2009, Victor Surge improved upon the myth by adding another picture of a fake doctor's account. The next day, another user by the name LeechCode5 posted a photo of a burning building with a more detailed Slenderman backstory. On June 14th, another user, Trench Mall, used Slenderman in his own story. Also, you can still find the thread today on the forum. Since then, Slenderman has been used in many mediums, such as the game popularised by Let's Players Slender, and the Enderman mob creature in the popular game Minecraft, which is a nod to the creepypasta cryptid. Even on TV, you could say that the Doctor Who's The Silence was based on the Slenderman.
Yeah,
There are even a few web series such as Marble Hornets and Tried 12 that are dedicated to a live-action styled horror series, and the many creepypastas and the narrations that are all over the internet, all spawned from a simple Photoshop picture on a forum. It's interesting how the internet works. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and if there's another pasta monster you'd like to see dissected, let me know. Thanks for watching and
Let me know what
goodbye.
y'all think in the comments about that.